And this brings us to the next science-backed reason why creating a vision board might be helpful. Today is day 4 of the 90-day Organized Life Blueprint Challenge, and we're going to be working on creating a vision board. As a licensed psychologist and a behavioral scientist, I think it's my obligation to let you know that there's not a lot of research out there on the benefits of vision boards specifically. And this kind of makes sense because in the world of clinical psychology, at least, we spend a lot of time looking at what goes wrong and mental health disorders, and not a lot of time in the positive psychology human optimization space. Although there have been some notable exceptions across time, the University of Pennsylvania has an institute dedicated exclusively to positive psychology, and the study of positive psychology more generally has increased over the last 40 to 50 years. But there is some indirect scientific evidence that might help to explain why people find vision boards so helpful. There is research on the relationship between visualization and goal attainment. Some of this research has focused on the effect of visualization for athletic performance and has found that athletes that spend some time visualizing their performance actually improve their performance on the field or on the court, all of the athletic surfaces. There's also a complementary line of research looking at visualization in terms of how it helps motivation over time. Some studies have suggested that visualizing your goals helps to elicit necessary emotions that increase your motivation toward goal attainment. Let's get started on creating my vision board, and I'll give you 2 additional science-backed reasons why creating a vision board might help get us closer to an organized life and toward more intentional behaviors. I'm going to be doing my vision board using Canva. Canva is a free online tool that you can use to develop these types of visuals. And that's the first reason that we're doing this vision board, is creating this visualization of what it is that we want our life to look like after we're done with this 90-day sprint. So I'm going to start by putting in the Canva search engine here, vision board, and they have multiple templates for that. I'm going to take a look at it and just see what resonates with me. Is there some kind of setup that works? They have tons of examples, so we're just going to pick one that resonates with us and something that we wouldn't mind looking at over the next 3 months. Okay, I think something like this really works for me because we cannot boil an ocean in the next 90 days. We're going to have to remain focused on those few values that we've identified over the last 4 days. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to customize that template. And I'm going to search for pictures that are emblematic or that show where I'm trying to go in different areas of my life. One of the things that is of central importance to me as I'm working on this 90-day YouTube challenge here on YouTube is content creation. So I'm going to go search for some pictures that represent the kind of content creation that I want to do, the kind of consistency that I want to have. So something that resonates with me that when I look at, I'll be able to remember, hey, one of the things I'm focusing on is content creation. I really like a website, pixels.com. I will leave it linked in the description box down below, but it allows you to grab free photos and videos, and if you are so inclined, you can donate to the artist there. So I'm gonna select content creation and see what they have here, if there's anything that kind of speaks to me about what I'm doing. If there's nothing here that works for you, there is another potentially more beneficial option, and that is to look through your personal photos to identify a time where you were embodying that thing that you want to do. So I'm going to look at my photos and see if I have any photos of me doing this. So I have an old photo I'm going to put up here, and then, if you're here for the dogs, there they are. I am going to write productivity, psychologist, and kind of have that spread out here. has nothing to do with travel, so I'll just delete that. I also am not like a huge fan of that font, so let me put it in a font that I like. Here, Productivity Psychologist. I'm going to get rid of that. All right, what else am I working on? I'm focusing on an organized life. So one of the things that I want to do is search here. You can search within Canva itself for planner. And I have some photos of my old planners. There is a new book out called The Age of Magical Overthinking, and it's by Amanda Montell. And she has kind of this interesting notion thinking about cognitive biases and how we're kind of bad at relating to our future selves, partially because we don't have any relics of the future. Clearly, it hasn't happened yet, but we don't really know what that person is going to be like. So sometimes eliciting relics or images from the past, especially if that's a kind of behavior or the kind of place where you want to be in the future, it might make it more real using that logic if you're able to identify some photos of yourself in the past in the state that you want to be in the future, if that makes sense. So I'm going to have this image right here of my planner and how it used to look. And just to make it a little aesthetically pleasing, I'm going to go here into the adjust. I'm going to improve the brightness as well as the contrast just so that I can see, hey, I was on top of my schedule. So I have that there. So I have content creation. I want to have like master over what's going on at home and at work. So I do think potentially some sort of image representing work might be helpful. So I'm going to go back into Elements and search Elements for office work, since that is the kind of work that I'm doing mostly. And I'm going to look for a picture that kind of resonates with what I'm trying to do. I am trying to be organized and have calm productivity. So I'm not looking for pictures of like people being harried or a lot of chaos. I'm looking for calm productivity. So let me see. This girl looks pretty chill. Yeah, I think she kind of represents what I'm trying to get at. I also want an organized home. So I'm going to do organized home and see what happens from that. Oh, beautiful. We have a file cabinet here. That's part of paper organization that we're going to talk about later on. I like this stay organized photo, and we're also going to be working on just like wardrobe, office organization, just general physical organization as well. So perhaps a picture of a really organized closet. My closet was really organized before, so that gives me an opportunity to go into my photos. I like when I can make future me aspire to old me. So I'm going to put that in. So I'm going to put that in right there. I'm just going to do some adjustments, mostly bringing up the brightness. And this brings us to the next science-backed reason why creating a vision board might be helpful. Psychologists and behavioral scientists have studied something called the priming effect. And the priming effect is how seeing something, let's say you're seeing lots of pictures of people that are physically fit or workout equipment, it helps prime your brain to remember some of the behaviors that you're trying to do in the realm of fitness. This is similar to setting up your environment so that it's easier for you to do the right thing. But what we're doing here is kind of reminding your brain that you're trying to do something. So if I have a picture of an organized closet and that is posted somewhere near my closet, I might be more likely to pick up my sweater and hang it rather than throwing it on the closet floor. Let's keep going and identify some of the other ways that I want my life to change over the next 90 days. So we've talked about home and how I want to feel like it is organized. I've talked about work and how I want to feel kind of calm productivity. I've spoken a little bit about my hobbies and this second job, which is this YouTube channel. Are there other things that I'd like to focus on? Over the next 90 days, we're going to be talking about time management. We did identify goals, and also for ensuring that we have the systems and processes so that we can stay organized over time rather than just during this 90-day sprint. So, are there other things that I might identify that might be helpful for this vision board? So, I would say something about systems and processes. I think budgeting and finances, that'll come up later. So, something related to finances seems like it's kind of missing here. So, let me see what I can do. I have old photos from myself when I was doing more budgeting, so I'm going to put that in there. I've decided that this file cabinet is giving me like anxiety. Anxiety is too strong of a word here, but like I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me dread what's coming up over the next 90 days, so I'm just going to remove that. And in place of that, I want something to represent calm. So let's do that because that keeps coming up. It was in my values assessment, and it's also kind of coming up in how I envision my life after these 90 days. So let's put in calm and see what we can get. I have old pictures of being near the lake, but that's not quite getting it. So I'm going to see if Canva has any pictures internally. So let's see. Then we'll look for photos. I love this photo here. It's kind of like blue and pink, which are my colors if you haven't picked that up yet. But maybe it's not really resonating with me. Let's do something like this. Now, this resonates with me because it is about calm, but it's also about getting things done. And that's what I'm trying to be, is like, I'm not striving toward bed rot. I'm striving toward moving forward, but just like in this calm, purposeful way. So all of that. Now, I see here that they have a stock photo of friends together, and we will be discussing the importance and value of social connection and interactions. Even if, like me, you might be an introvert or an omnivert, someone who feels like their energy gets drained when they're around other people, there is scientific support for the importance of that social connection. And at the very least, we can do a little experiment and try that out. So I am going to look for photos with friends. I think for me, there would be a value in looking for pictures of me with friends and engaging in things. Again, we're trying to remind your brain of what you're trying to do, and also leveraging the fact that we have some evidence from the past that we've enjoyed social situations. That is kind of that relic from the past that shows us the person that you were at that time. It gives your brain some evidence that you might be able to go there in the future. So let's identify some photos of me and my friends in the past. I cheated a little bit on this one because as I was saying that it might be helpful to have some evidence that I liked being with people, I instantly remembered my time back in New England. We moved from the Boston area to the DC area about 2 years ago. And as a military family, we move around a lot. So we don't always make friends in new places. And sometimes we integrate into the community and sometimes we don't. But that was an example of a community that was super welcoming. And we ended up having a bunch of neighborhood friends, which I really don't have. Growing up in New York City, you don't really talk to your neighbors, and we've moved around a lot, so we don't really develop those deep bonds. But in New England, just outside of Boston, I had the best time. And it was also around a gym community, and that is another one of my goals, is getting back into a healthy routine, including healthy eating and exercise, and things we'll talk about later on in the challenge in terms of how to optimize your health and fitness so that you're kind of in a routine where those things are something that you're taking care of on a regular basis. So it actually helps on two fronts. It highlights health and wellness, that I was able to do that in the past, and also I get to see my old friends. So I am going to have that up. Before we move on to going through and tweaking some of these words and making it so that this vision board is aesthetically pleasing, I want to talk about the psychological concept of behavioral activation. Behavioral activation is an empirically supported treatment for depression. But as I've said across several videos across my channel, just because something was created and validated for use in a clinical population, so in individuals that are dealing with mental health disorders, doesn't mean that that treatment exclusively works in those populations. They've been specifically tested for those populations, but there are things that we could potentially learn from that, even if we aren't managing symptoms of depression. And one of the tenets of behavioral activation is that we're not really all that great at estimating what's going to bring us joy in the future. And part of creating this vision board is to start thinking about what that future might look like so that you can get excited and motivated to take action toward that future. In depression, this is related to increasing the availability of some of those feel-good hormones, because your brain might be telling you nothing feels good, but until you go out there and actually engage in these behavioral experiments, you aren't giving your brain the opportunity to release some of those feel-good juices and for you to develop corrective experiences and corrective memories and know that doing some of these things brings you joy, and it might be helpful for you to do more things to increase your happiness and decrease your depression over time. I have a full video on major depressive disorder, and I'll leave it in the cards up above. But one of the things that might be potentially helpful for individuals about behavioral activation in general is this feeling that you want to act in spite of your motivation. And the vision board is a tool to potentially remind you and prime your brain of what you're trying to work on or what you're trying to work toward. But it's important to know that visualization alone is not going to get you toward your goals. And although it might be nice to optimize the possibility that you'll be motivated to take action toward this desired end state, central to behavioral activation is acting in spite of the motivation. So we'll have the vision board. Hopefully it will remind us of what we're trying to do. It will motivate us to do that. And if we're not motivated and we just pass by it from time to time, maybe it will serve as a reminder that taking small steps toward your desired goal is more important than just thinking about your desired goal. And every action gets you one step closer. I'm going to take a few minutes to finish my vision board. I really like where we ended up, and I kind of feel like we have a teal theme going. I don't know if I want to change the background, but I definitely want to remove that. It's not value added here. And I will potentially change this to one of my signature colors. I am really enjoying this sky blue recently, so I'm going to keep that. And let me know what you think of my vision board, and I'll leave a link to Canva that I used to develop this vision board down below. And while you're down there, consider subscribing to this YouTube channel so that you can follow along on this entire 90-day journey.